Arts programs bring a lot to the table when it comes to solving difficult or what get called wicked problems. Problems that are, unfortunately, a big part of our social reality. But what is social reality? How do we know and understand it if it's tremendously complex, which it appears to be? If we all live and work with our attentions focused on what's directly in front of us, how do we ever gain a comprehensive understanding of the bigger social mechanisms of which we're all a part? An extraordinary array of biological systems on our planet interact in complex ways with vast industrial and technological systems and with the equally vast networks that connect everything. Factor into all of that the sum total of all human communications, and we end up with our current social reality. But how do we accurately track down cause and effect connections in complex societies when we have big problems to solve? There are useful academic frameworks we can rely on, like complexity theory and systems theory. These are especially important tools when things go wrong, and they do sometimes. For example, the problem of violence. Violence in either our personal lives or communities or around the world.
One of the most exciting things you see happening in the arts faculty at Mount Royal is when researchers and teachers in different subject areas end up looking at the same social issue but from different perspectives. Take, for example, the problem of violence, whether it's in the context of warfare or in terms of the violence people might face in their communities, or how justice systems handle violent crime. The research and teaching in the arts ends up generating multiple perspectives to give us a detailed, big picture view of the problem.
So in the liberal arts disciplines, we investigate very specific topics that are extremely relevant to the ongoing struggle for fair and just societies all over the world. I encourage students to think about how war and political violence are justified and actually caused sometimes by the way people, the mass media, and governments talk about violence. When we better understand how our talking, thinking, and actions can perpetuate violence, we come to understand that we all have a role to play in creating a better world.
I teach students about genocide, about where, why, and how it's happened, how it's remembered, and how to help prevent it from happening again.
Justice studies is the study of how a community or society responds to crime by way of criminal laws, by way of how police enforce those laws, how society processes laws through courts, and ultimately what ends up happening if someone's found guilty and has to go through a corrections process. Justice is in the media a lot. And I think it's really important that people who live in Canada understand how the justice system works and what rights they have in relationship to that process. What I typically spend time talking to our students about is the purpose of the Canadian Charter on Rights and Freedoms. Its purpose is to guarantee the rights and freedoms that are articulated in the Charter, but equally important, to constrain government actions that are inconsistent with those rights and freedoms.
Many key aspects of criminal justice studies get taught in arts faculties. In one class, I teach students about forensic interviewing, which is the art of collecting evidence for criminal court cases. Here they learn about deception in the communication process and videotape themselves executing these skills. Another course looks at aberrant human behavior to assess both psychological and biological explanations for criminal engagement. We look closely at an individual's childhood, especially any exposure to abuse and neglect. The third course zeroes in on death investigation. Here, graduates can apply to work as autopsy technicians at the Chief Office of the Medical Examiner's Office. My current research interests include the CSI effect, which describes how inaccurate portrayals of forensic science on TV influence the public's perception of evidence. And I'm staying focused on DNA evidence and other types of technology which can influence both jurors and judges.
Yeah, I want to go to the University of Windsor to pursue law 'cause I've always wanted to be a lawyer. The dream is to be a human rights lawyer. It's what I want to do so deeply. But I feel like the liberal arts degree and being able to better understand myself and better explain myself obviously translates really well to law. So I went into being an English major because my mom was an English major. She graduated from U of C with her master's in English, and her mom before her was an English teacher back home in Ireland. She's a communications specialist at TELUS right now. Being able to have access to poli-sci, anthropology, sociology, the plethora of courses in the liberal arts major, it really helped me as a citizen, as a person, as a human being, because you're better able to understand the structures in our world, and you take headlines for less than just the headline and more for the actual conceptual understanding of what is at play and the major factors. Having these programs allows you to understand more and allows you to be a more informed person.
The arts are looking for solutions to complex problems, with faculty and students working together.